Dishevelled Steven Lyons told the court he hadn't spoken to his family for 7 weeks as his lawyer claimed the Scottish kingpin had been kidnapped in a global police sting. The 45-year-old sported a beard flecked with silver as he appeared in person at a tense courtroom showdown to decide whether he should be sent back to Spain to face a raft of organised crime charges. Lyons walked into the dock in Amsterdam where prosecutors and lawyers faced off over his fate following the sensational arrest in Bali in Indonesia on the 28th of March. Lyons wore a blue hoodie and trainers as he entered the room, packed with journalists from the UK, Spain and the Netherlands, before sitting in front of a panel of judges who will rule on the bid to have him sent back to the Costa del Sol. At one point, Lyons addressed the law chiefs, telling them, "First of all, I want to apologise for the way I'm dressed. I don't have any appropriate clothing. I want to confirm my condition. I feel terrible. I look terrible. I have not had my medication asked for on the first day I arrived. As of 2 days ago, I was told they will take my bloods. I haven't seen a single person except the guards and some people from the church. Most importantly, I haven't spoken to my family in almost 7 weeks. My condition is not good." His lawyer, Arnie Kloosterman, earlier claimed his client had been kidnapped from Bali. His legal team argued the decision to send him to the Netherlands from Indonesia was not competent and made by Spain's Guardia Civil. The brief claimed this was outside Spain's remit and jurisdiction. Mr. Kloosterman added, "What occurred was not an extradition under Indonesian extradition law. In the end, this was a kidnapping. That is the word for an abduction. The operation as carried out was contrary to Indonesian legislation and was conducted with the material involvement of the Spanish Guardia Civil. We therefore say that this operation was carried out together with the Indonesian authorities who were responsible for my client's detention, and that its purpose was ultimately to avoid the judicial scrutiny to which my client is entitled to under Indonesian law." Lyons sat at a desk directly in front of the law chiefs led by Judge Foutier just before 1 p.m. as the legal arguments began. He wore a navy blue hoodie, dark trousers and Asics trainers, turning to face his lawyer, Mr. Kloosterman, as he addressed the court. 3 armed cops watched the proceedings. Lyons nodded as a woman interpreter translated proceedings into English as the case played out in a large white room with modern wooden panelling. One wall displayed a mural depicting colourful fish. During a break, he looked around and stretched his arms and neck, looking relaxed as he clasped his hands and staring straight ahead. The drama unfolded just over a year earlier, after his brother Eddie Lyons Jr. and his pal Ross Monaghan were both gunned down in a pub assassination in Fuengirola in Spain. As the hearing progressed, Judge Foutier then told the Scot he was wanted by authorities in Spain on suspicion of being the leader of a criminal organisation. A member of the Lyons legal team passed him a cup of water before Mr. Kloosterman began a lengthy address to the court. At one point, Lyons bowed his head and lodged his left hand to his chin, rubbing his face. He wasn't wearing a wedding ring to mark his marriage to wife Amanda, who was arrested in Dubai as part of the international sting that saw her husband paraded in handcuffs at Bali airport. Lyons then spoke in a low voice when asked to confirm the name listed by the court was correct, telling Judge Cullen, "Yes, sir," with the court told again he was the alleged leader of a criminal organisation. Officials revealed his lawyer, Mr. Kloosterman, had received a copy of an Interpol Red Notice seeking the apprehension of his client. At other points, Lyons leaned back in his seat and smiled before looking towards the press benches and briefly making eye contact with our reporter. When the time came for prosecutors to address the court, Lyons screwed up his face and shook his head, triggering smiles and chuckles from his legal team. A Spanish lawyer told the court he represents Lyons and the country claimed part of the case remained secret. He revealed he had repeatedly asked Spanish authorities for full details of the case against Lyons, but had received no answer. The prosecutor told the court Lyons was arrested in Indonesia on a red notice issued in March before being expelled to Holland, where Dutch authorities were entitled to arrest him under European arrest warrant. He said if Lyons thinks Spanish investigators behaved improperly, he can raise that before the Spanish courts. Indonesia chose to expel him. The Netherlands lawfully arrested him when he arrived, and any complaint about Indonesia or Spain belongs somewhere else. Rather than spending 18 months or 2 years in an Indonesian detention centre fighting extradition, Lyons ended up in a Dutch court where the process is faster and subject to legal safeguards. We told how Lyons was earlier arrested in Bali in Indonesia as part of an international probe involving Spain's National Guard and Police Scotland. He was then flown under police guard to a high security unit in the Netherlands ahead of a so-called surrender hearing today. Authorities in Spain want Lyons brought back to the Costa del Sol, where he's accused of being involved in a multi-million-pound money laundering plot linked to a serious organised crime network spanning the globe. We had earlier told of insider claims Lyons hoped to be granted bail if he agreed to return to Spain to face justice, But it today emerged through his legal team that Lyons intends to resist efforts to be extradited to the country where he spent many years after leaving Scotland. He was arrested as part of Operation Armorum, a Spanish-led investigation into the activities of the notorious North Glasgow crew who have been at war with their city rivals, the Daniel crime family, for decades. The final decision on Lyons' fate will be made at a later hearing on the 18th of June, when the reasons behind the ruling will be published by the court. We told how police at home and abroad carried out a series of coordinated raids as part of an ongoing investigation into the L-Mob's criminal network. The start of the long-running probe predated the murders of high-ranking mobsters Lyons Jr. and Monaghan in Monaghan's bar on the 31st of May last year. We told how 45-year-old Michael Riley of Huyton in Liverpool was recently moved from a jail in the south of the country to a prison in the north, which sources claim is in anticipation of Lyons' arrival if he loses his extradition fight. Riley had earlier been arrested in the UK and extradited to Spain, where he was initially held in the tough Alhorn de la Torre, Nick. Riley was recently transferred to the maximum security Tejero prison in the Galicia region, a 10.5-hour drive away. It's thought to have been a security measure before Lyons' expected arrival at Alhorn de la Torre near Malaga to face money laundering and gangland charges. A well-placed source said Riley's new jail is about as far as you can travel on the Spanish mainland from his old prison. If Steven Lyons is the reason for the move, and it looks likely it is, then prison chiefs have gone overboard to put distance between them. Lyons' arrest came amid an ongoing gang war in Scotland that resulted in more than 70 people being arrested as part of Police Scotland's Operation Portalage. The instigator is said to be a Lyons-linked hood, Ross Miami McGill, who targeted associates of Edinburgh mob boss Mark Richardson and the Daniel crime clan over claims he'd been ripped off in a faked cash drug deal. Scottish police said the shooting in Fuengirola had no link to the turf war here, but Spanish police later claimed the shooter was a member of the Daniel clan.